Hi, this is Gino Borges with thewildself.com, and I wanted to share with you one of the features that I noticed that happens on Wild Self quest walks, and that is at some point in the quest walks, some of the questers often are hinting at this internal narrative that they have going on in their head. It's pretty powerful. I am this, I am that, I'm not doing this, I should be doing that. Whatever the case is, it's a conversation that's happening in their heads. And so we spent a big part of it talking about how internal narrative is a type of threshold issue, meaning that it's often a phenomena that we carry around with us that keeps us from going beyond the threshold and going on into our journey into the unknown. And so what we work on is actually quailing that voice. And one way that we quail that voice is actually putting it into context. So for instance, I ask questers perhaps to close their eyes, and then I take them through an entire movie sequence that involves from the time that they're born to the date in which they're an older person. And so they end up seeing a longer and more expansive context of their self. And so what you do is you take that immediate narrative that they have in their head, the internal narrative that keeps playing, which has expanded to take up their whole existence and their entire consciousness, and you take that internal narrative that they have, and then you put it in the larger story, their story, and then what they do is they get a chance to understand that their immediate circumstance, or their internal narrative, which is creating their immediate circumstance, is actually very small relative to their larger story. It's very much an aha moment. It's been very helpful for me, and it's also something that I help questers actually do as well. Second part of the equation is this, that there's a connection between our biology and our belief. And I've noticed this, is that people that have a very intense internal dialogue going on in their heads will have their chins down. Because when your head's down and your eyes are down, your machinery starts working. It's much harder if your chin's up and looking out into the vista and have a nice view of what's happening around you, a perspectival view. It's much harder for the internal dialogue to actually feed itself. But as soon as the chin goes down, the internal machinery starts working. So on our Wild Self quest walks, part of our goal, actually a large part of our goal, is actually becoming physically embodied. So we do that by actually looking at relationships between biology and belief, and how our physiology and our thought patterns actually work together, both for good and for bad. Anyways, that's my tip for today, and I wanted to let you know again that pay close attention to how the internal narrative sometimes becomes your exclusive form of consciousness. And when that happens, a couple things to do is to, one, think about your immediate circumstance in a larger context, and two, pay attention to how your body might be supporting that internal narrative. All right, thank you everybody.